Hey, Linux fans, Rob here, and got Rocco joining me again this evening. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. What's going on?
Well, we finally get to see you, which is great.
Oh
It's always
no.
fun to see the person you're talking to.
Yeah, it's better to see, but I don't know. Maybe you don't want to see after this.
No, not a problem at all, man. Not a problem. So, we were chatting just what I guess after our first conversation or our last conversation, and kind of came up with the idea to talk about Arch and Ubuntu, and I've been running Arch for going on 4 weeks now, and you've been on KDE Neon.
KDE Neon for a couple weeks now. We're almost cured, I think.
Well, I took I guess you'll say a break from Distro Hoppers Anonymous. I had a weak moment, and I actually installed another Arch distro, which was OB Revenge,
Right? And how's it
and
going?
it's going great. A few little wiggles there, but I'm already missing KDE. I'll be honest.
Really?
I am, even though I've got the panel switcher set up to Mate. I just there's those little things in KDE that I've become so accustomed to that I already feel myself being pulled back to it. So
Well, after making these videos with the customization, going through each setting, I'm remembering remembering all the time all the little features that you don't even think about, that you just take it for granted basically because it's KDE, and you find all these little things. Oh yeah, I forgot I could do that. So
absolutely, and I've learned from your videos because there's little things like I go in and I have my settings that I kindly go to, but then I've watched your videos and you've got settings there that you've pointed out, and I'm like, well, I didn't know you could do that. So it's
yeah, but that
awesome to
happens
see
all the
the
time.
detail.
Yeah, that happens all the time though. You watch another video, like you'll watch a pseudo video or any of the other ones, and you'll say, "Whoa, I didn't know you could do that." So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's how
that's
you
the fun
learn.
part of it. So So who wants to go first here on our discussion as far as, I'm going to talk about Arch and kind of why I have gravitated to Arch, and I guess you'll share with us why you've gravitated to an Ubuntu based distro.
Yeah, why don't you go first? You go first, and I'll pick it up then.
All right, you got it. So I made some notes because it's one of those things. You, as you're using whatever you're using, you're not like mentally thinking about it from the standpoint of, now why am I using this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I've just kind of made a few notes, and I guess I'll go from the order. Well, no particular order, really. One of the things that appeals to me is the rolling release model within Arch. So, you know, you're not waiting 9 months or 6 months or 15 months or whatever it is, whatever the long term release period is for updated packages, updated kernel. You're kind of cutting edge. So that's a big part of it for me.
Well, and that is a very nice feature. Not having to reinstall anything, getting the updates right in flow. That's an awesome feature to Arch. Um, okay, I'll let you continue on the pros before I go any further.
Well, that's fine. If this was going to be one of your negatives, then tell me if I'm stealing your thunder.
Nope,
The
go
neg-
right ahead.
the negative to that, Rocco, is that can break things. So there's always that chance that that next cutting edge release wasn't thoroughly tested, and now you've really hosed something. So far, I haven't had that catastrophic issue, or really even a small issue with those rolling release updates. The the other thing that appeals to me is that it's available. So through Antergos, for example, practically every desktop environment out there is available. Not that it's not available within Ubuntu, but it certainly is available through Arch. So that's appealing, for the distro hopper in me, I guess. Um, and then really the number one reason for me, and the thing that if I go away from it and try something else, I immediately realize as soon as I go in, oh man, what am I doing here is the Arch user repository. Um, I have yet to find, one application. I have yet to find, with the exception of one, anything that I have looked for within the Arch user repository. Um, I, if I have to go back and start dealing with PPAs, it's like, really, this is what I got to deal with, because you can just do a search, and again, it's going to be there. And not only is it going to be there, but chances are it's going to be, if not the most current release, very close to the most current release. And it's so hard for me to go in and know that, okay, this is a package that's 2 releases previous, within this particular Ubuntu or Debian-based distro, just because of the way the distribution's set up. But, so the Arch user repository for me is going to be number one. That's the thing I would say that I miss the most.
Well, the two pros that I would say for Arch is, number one, the AUR. That is absolutely hands down awesome to have that, the newest software, without having to go anywhere and get it. The other thing is Arches, especially certain distributions, it is fast. I mean, I had Antergos installed with KDE, and I'm sorry, but it's almost twice as fast on Antergos than it is on Neon. And Neon has, and I guess fast is relative because you can only go so fast, but it just feels snappy. It just feels like you open the menu and it immediately opens. I mean, it's like instant. So Arch does have that it is faster, and the AUR. So I'll give you that.
All right. All right. Very good.
So the Ubuntu pros are, one, as you stated in your other video, Ubuntu is the greatest operating system ever created.
Now, that I was saying that in total 100% jest.
But it is, I mean, with all that aside, it is stable. You, most of the time, the base itself, you don't have to worry about it, especially if you're going for the LTS. You have issues when you go with the interim, but when you go with the long-term support release, you definitely get a stable operating system. That's one. Ease of use is the other one. There isn't many, and I'll just say it like this: you're not going to have any Windows users come over and go to Arch. Okay, it's definitely not new user friendly. So depending on the distribution, Ubuntu isn't either, or it can be better depending on the distribution. But I think ease of use is definitely a pro for Ubuntu. Well, those are basically the main pros for using Ubuntu distributions: the deb files, installing software. There's many different ways to install software. So yeah, sometimes you got to add a repository, but a lot of times there's a deb file. You can just click it, one click install. So I would say ease of use and stability would be the two main pros for Ubuntu.
And I would agree with you totally there, and especially from the perspective of a new user to come into, say, whether it's just Ubuntu proper or Xubuntu or Ubuntu Mate. You've got, the software boutique in the case of Ubuntu Mate. You've got, the Ubuntu App Center, and then there's always Synaptic, and I think that's kind of the progression that the new user would go through. First they'll see the App Store, and then eventually you're going to learn about Synaptic, at some point.
Right. Well, we talk about ease of use, and even like I have run Arch distributions before, but we talk about it being easy, and a lot of times we kind of, because we're so familiar with Linux and things, it is easy and familiar to us. But when you think back of when you came from Windows and when I first installed Ubuntu, I thought I was in another world. I mean, like I installed the regular Ubuntu version, and I don't even remember what version it was, but just everything was so different. And I installed it and I got to my desktop and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, now what? I had no idea. Now you got welcome screens and stuff like that to help you out, but I can't imagine a new user going to Arch. I mean, and I don't mean I'm not downing Arch. I'm just saying there's just no way, because a lot of times the users aren't even that, they're not even that good on Ubuntu, let alone Arch.
And I would agree with you 100%. Especially if you compare what you're going to work through to obtain your software with, say, Ubuntu Mate versus, say, uh, Entregas, which I'm on now. There's nothing there that equates to the software boutique as far as ease of setup, ease of discovery, and even for me now, I will go out and I'll do a search, and once I get the name of what it is I'm looking for that matches close to what I want to achieve, then I'll go in and I'll do the search through PMAC or Pacman, PMAC. There's one other thing I want to add too, and I think this is fair to compare. So Ubuntu-based distributions, you've got probably 2 or 3 times as many to choose from, maybe 4 times as many to choose from as you do Arch-based distributions. But one thing I kind of wanted to, I guess, maybe point out, and it's not really an advantage, it's just kind of the way it's worked out, is you've got really Manjaro, Antergos, and Apricity, or if you really want to do it the hard way, you're just, Arch that you're building up, that's a whole nother level that we'll discuss another day maybe. But really, you've got 3 key distributions to choose from. Some people would argue that Antergos is not a distribution, that it's simply an Arch installer. I call it a distribution. It feels like a distribution to me. All 3 of those are very high quality. Manjaro probably being the most, I'm going to say, user-friendly from the standpoint of, okay, I've been on Linux a little while. I want to move over to the Arch side and see what that's all about. So you've got 3 high-quality choices there, really, where with an Ubuntu-based distribution, goodness, I have no clue how many are out there, but I would venture to say that only, maybe 50% of them are what I would call high quality.
Right.
Would you agree to that?
I would agree. I mean, there's all kinds of distributions trying to put their own spin on it, but you also have to look at just the way, like, for example, say Linux Mint, one of the top Ubuntu distributions, they go so far to customize everything for you that, I mean, even now booting into them, I look at it and I'm like, I can't believe they put this in here. I can't believe they added this little tiny feature. Little things here and there. It's not, a big thing, but it's just the little details that make it that much easier for the person. So it is definitely, and that's where the little distributions are missing, where they're only trying to get their distribution out there. You know what I mean? They're not having the attention to detail where a Linux Mint, and I know that they have a lot of developers, and sometimes you only got 1 or 2 developers on a distribution, but that's actually the pro of having somebody like Linux Mint do it, because you have so many developers and they do put the attention to detail into it.
Right. The other thing I guess I'll fall back to, Matt and I had a discussion, or review / discussion, about Ubuntu proper. And he and I both kind of were on the same track, if you will, as far as Canonical is concerned. Canonical, say what you will about them, they carry a big stick. They've got a lot of resources, and they can change the direction of Ubuntu in ways that users may not favor, because it's kind of, and not, I guess I'll say, it's this corporate group that's kind of making the decision. Whereas with Arch, it is totally community based. There's no one corporation, at the helm saying, we're going to put this icon down here on the lower left. And yes, it's going to be large and out of place, but darn it, the people are going to like it.
It reminds you of another big company out there making PCs, huh? Or operating systems.
Are you talking about the company that's wanting to get heavily involved in
the Linux Foundation? I watched a video on that, a news video on that.
Cool. I need to check that out.
You should. But not to go down the canonical rabbit hole, but it is true to where they have kept to a good standard as far as making Ubuntu. But at any point, if somebody got into control that you didn't want in control, they could change the whole direction of it, and there isn't anything or isn't much that we could do about it. So that is a negative.
But I think that's why you see Linux Mint, for example, and Matt and I talked about this as well. That's why you see Linux Mint being so popular, because they took that stable base you're talking about, and they said, hey, this needs to go in a different direction, and here's how we see that it should go, from a developer standpoint. At the end of the day, we've got great choice. I just feel like I'm really getting to a point where I'm not going to be totally satisfied, and this could change. Again, what I'm about to say, I want to make it known, this could change in 3 weeks or 3 days or sometimes 3 hours. But right now, I just feel like for me, it needs to be an Arch-based system, an Arch-based distro, because my experience has been so solid and so good. And then, I add to that the solid experience with KDE Neon. And like I said, I've got OB Revenge loaded because it's an Arch-based distribution. But the only thing, Jody, if you're listening, the only thing that sways me or pulls me back is that I don't have an option for KDE. But that solid base is there, and the speed. I mean, OB Revenge is just so. I mean, you notice it. Where it really stood out to me was I loaded up KDE Neon. Oh gosh, just a couple weeks back, and I don't even know what. Maybe I don't know why I installed it, but I reloaded KDE Neon, and it felt remarkably slower. Now I have nothing to back that up other than just Rob saying it felt slower.
Yes, but that's
now, have you tried an Arch-based distro where I think you said earlier it feels faster,
Well, and I tried one time to do a full Arch install, and I failed miserably at it.
You mean just straight Arch?
Straight Arch. And I followed the wiki, but at that time, it was not. The community is not the friendliest. I'll say that for the Arch community, and I was running into errors that the wiki didn't seem to have, or didn't seem to know about, or never did. So I couldn't get any answers on how to fix it. And like I said, I'm not going to go into details about it, but they weren't as friendly as I thought they might have been. So I just scrapped it. I did try Manjaro for a while, and you know what? I liked Manjaro. The community over there is awesome. There was many times that I went to them and said, hey, I'm having this issue, or how do I fix this? And they were extremely helpful in posting, solving the problem. So I was really happy with that. The only problem that I have, and that's one of my cons for Arch, is it seems to run great. When you install it, it runs awesome. It's fast, it's instant, you're awed at all of it that's going on. And then a few weeks later goes by, and it may be due to an update. I don't know. It may be due to, I don't know what it's due to. That's why I stopped using it. But at some point, it's going to get to a point where things just start to go wrong, and you have no idea why. And like I said, unless you know specifics, or you're in a Manjaro community, you're not going to find the answers very easily. And I think one of the issues that I used to have with the sound was I would install Manjaro, and the sound would come on and it would be fine, and then I would turn it down to the level that I wanted it to, and then for no apparent reason whatsoever, a system bell would go off or air or something, and the sound would go to 100% immediately and just blare your eardrums out.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and it just continually happened, and they fixed it, and then it seemed like after a few weeks went by, it came back. So I don't know what the problem was. I ended up giving up on it at that time, and that's one of the reasons why I left using Arch. But those are the things that happen. Like I said, you use it for a while, and it's great, and until things start to go wrong, and then you feel like you're out in the middle of the ocean without any help. Basically, that's basically what I'm saying.
Well, I had a similar experience with Manjaro the first time that I installed it. Like you said, it was fast. Oh man, this is fantastic. I love this. They've done a nice job with Manjaro as a whole. And it was, I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 days into it. I had this stuttering issue where the mouse would start to stutter and hang. And I believe I had a system crash of some kind. I don't recall if it was, but at any rate, as I was going in and reading, I started to notice that there were remarks to what you just said, that Manjaro is great till you get it up and running for about 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden things go haywire. And I've heard that, more than once. And not here to disparage Manjaro. And I don't know if that's an Arch thing, per se, or if that's a Manjaro thing.
Well, it may be. It may have been. And as far as my sound issue that I was having, it was a Arch thing where I forget what the sound mixer that was being used, that there was a regression. It was a bug and it was in there and it was fixed. And then when they updated it, the bug reappeared. So I don't believe it's a major Manjaro problem. I just think Arch in general is it's a road, and sometimes there's landmines on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you said you'd listen to the news video today. Also, there was there's a security hole, and they were mentioning there that it was affecting Debian, Ubuntu, OpenSUSE Enterprise, Red Hat Enterprise. No mention of Arch.
Right.
And I thought, yep, no mention of Arch. And I need to go back and look and just make sure that I didn't see any mention of Arch. So maybe it's not affecting Arch. But I thought, man, this is good timing. I've got one here to hit Rocco with. But it's unfair because you know what? Tomorrow there could be something that is solely a negative security threat inside of just Arch-based distros. So that's why, what's the old saying? Don't throw stones in a glass house.
Right. Well, like that security hole in general, there's going to be security holes that pop up. What's the shame about it is that they're there for so long and they don't get fixed. Like the last one was there for years, and
Dirty cow.
Yeah, it wasn't fixed. So that's what's discouraging, is not the fact that there's security holes, because I mean, we come from a Windows era. So of course there's going to be security holes sometimes. But it's the fact of not fixing them is the problem. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
So talking about security, now there's a lot of times where people will say it's a security risk to add a PPA, because at any time that person can then re-upload something and you update, and basically it's a security hole. So my question is the AUR the same way, where it's a security risk because anybody can upload a program or a version of the program?
That's an excellent question. And personally, I've never had an issue with a PPA. But there are select few programs that I focused on, and I kind of know where to get those legitimately, not some bizarre hosting site that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So from that, I've never had an issue with PPAs. In the AUR, and I had this listed in my notes here as a negative because I want to be fair about it. I would, and I don't know this, for 100% certainty, but I would say absolutely that there is a risk that, because the AUR number one, I think it is the largest app repository, software repository in Linux today. There's nothing you can't find, with the exception of that one app, and I still can't recall what it is. But anyway, so yeah, I think there absolutely is that possibility. And then there's something else that I've experienced also within the AUR, and that is you may find 3 versions of the same program. Now, you can look at the version history and you can see, what is the latest version. One may be from Git. One may be just listing the title of the app. And then may be another one that is the title of the app with some other designator that says, okay, this is what it is, but it's, like beta, but maybe it's not saying beta, for example.
Right.
And the problem that I have found is maybe one of those 3 will actually install. And so there's a little confusion. Now, there's a little rating bar there that you can look at once you have gone in and you've turned on the AUR. You can kind of see a rating and gauge from that. And then I believe there's a way through the terminal too that you can see a rating, as it's building out. So yes, absolutely, there is a chance. And then there are some options that you can toggle on. So as it starts to build out through the terminal, you get to a place where you have to go in and approve. Yes, I want you to do this. You've got to put in your password to get to the next step, because they're wanting to, I guess, cover their bases through that process. Has it happened to me? Has it happened to me yet? No.
Well, that was one of my problems when I ran Arch, was all of the yes. Do I really want to install this software? There's like 6 different yes. Do you want to build it? Yes. Do you want to make it? Yes. Do you? I mean, of course, I hit yes the first time. Why wouldn't I want to install it?
If you choose the yes on the wrong question too, it could cause you to have to go back. So, but there is a toggle switch where you can turn that on so that it will automatically step through the process.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, it'll yes for you, and then it'll get down to the password, and you just type in your password, and it'll go from there.
Well, I was talking to people about Arch, and I actually asked my dad runs Linux as well, and I think he's running Ubuntu Mate right now. And I asked him what he thought about Arch, because I put Arch on his machine before, and he absolutely said, no way, never going to happen again, because it's just too hard. But he says to me, like, Arch is like the fast car that everybody wants to drive, but most people out there today want the Cadillac with the features and the plush items in the car. So yeah, there's fast cars out there, but who really drives that fast anyway? That was his analogy.
Well, that's a good analogy, and there comes a point. You're right. I mean, it's one thing to own a Ferrari, but when you take it in for a tune-up and it's $7,000, you're faced with the reality. So, well, I guess I'll sum it up this way. There's more small things, I guess, that I could talk about as to why I have kind of settled and gravitated to an Arch-based distribution. Will I ever go in and really do proper Arch? Yes, there's going to be a day that I'm going to want to go through that process so that I can, number one, experience the process, talk about it from the standpoint of experience.
Right.
And then, that way, I'll have an understanding of really how hard or difficult it could be or is, and how successful is it,
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had many people tell me, hey, you've got to do this. You've got to go through this process. So So there will be a day I do that. I feel like I'm cheating. I feel like I'm, in using Antergos, I feel like I'm really cheating.
Well, look, there is a certain satisfaction when you do things that are hard and you get them done. You finally get them finished. That's if you have any hair left till you get there. Because I mean, like I said, I did it before and I didn't get very far. So I don't know if maybe if I had more time, I would sit down and obviously not on my main machine, but maybe if I had more time, I would try to start the process and figure it out, because the tutorials, the Arch Wiki has all progressed since I did it last. So I'm sure that with a little time and a lot of reading, it's easily done. People have done it. But from my main machine, daily driver, I don't know.
So are you currently running KDE Neon now as daily driver?
Well, I'm running KDE Neon right now, but I've got to the point where I so want to try an Arch distribution. I'm just waiting to get through one or two more of these customizing KDE videos, and then I want to I don't know, and I don't know. I mean, their Antergos looks really good. Apricity looked really good as well. I mean, they have, I think, cinnamon and something else.
Cinnamon
But
and GNOME.
yeah, but I'd have to decide whether I wanted to run KDE or not. And then OB Revenge looks really good too.
Yep.
So I don't know. I would have to make the decision once I got there. But I think in a few weeks, once I'm done this, I might end up. Well, that's why I was going to challenge you to do an Arch challenge.
Okay.
To see if we could do something for like maybe I install Arch and you install. Hey, maybe you can install Arch from the ground up.
Well, or we could, like, I could run KDE Neon for, say, a period of time that we set up, and run an Ubuntu-based distribution while you run an Arch-based, and then we come back.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
How long you want to set it up for?
Well, I would say
last 2 weeks.
2 weeks, man. That might be tough.
That's pushing it.
So maybe that's something we could do, like over Christmas holiday or something for the week, run it for a week. And then we could come back and say, okay, did I really miss this? And, what was bad? What was good?
Yeah. What was the experience like?
Yeah. What was the experience like? I'm game for that.
Yeah, I am too. So let's do it. Let's mark a date down and do it.
All right. So I'll email you. We'll get a date.
Okay.
Wait, let me back up on that. I'll email you and we'll set a date.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
We will set a date to do that. And who knows, we might change our minds a little.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe Arch will be in my future. You never know.
Well, you're open to so now I'm going to go with okay, let's go ahead and talk about this. So I'm thinking KDE Neon just because I'm so KDE focused right now.
That would be my suggestion to you. Okay. So what do you suggest I use for Arch?
I would say Antergos KDE.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, unless you're just dying for a change.
Right at home in there.
Okay. All right. And I think that'll be fair because we can kind of separate the desktop at that point because it's going to be the same. So it's not going to be some experience of speed or weird setting or something like that, right?
Right. And then it won't be the differences. Then when we come back, the experience won't be about the different desktop and the programs. It'll be about the actual Arch versus Ubuntu experience.
Excellent. I like that idea. So, all right, we'll get that set up and then we'll come back and we'll meet again and we'll chat about it again.
All right.
Hey, so what you got going on with the Big Daddy channel? What's coming up next?
Well, like I said, I'm in the middle of doing a customization series. So I'm partially through it, but man, them settings are so deep. I mean, it's like diving into the ocean as far as trying. I mean, especially when you get into, like, I'm up to the point of desktop effects. and there are just so many that you can choose from. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I completely understand all of the desktop effects because you know, some of them you can't have allowed with the other ones. So you can turn them on, but they actually go against another setting of another effect that you have. So you're gonna gotta work through it. But yeah, that's what's going on with the channel anyway.
Well, listen, I've really enjoyed seeing that level of detail, and I appreciate you kind of continuing on. And I know it's probably a little tedious because, like you said, within KDE, there is so much there. But I think you're doing a service for the community because there are guys out there who, once they get into those settings, maybe they're turned off or they just kind of ignore it and, you know, push it off to the side. And so, man, I appreciate what you're doing.
I don't know what you mean. I've never done that before in my life.
Well, listen, have a great weekend.
I will, and you too, man. Hey, one more note, no pun intended.
Yep.
I watched this video about this program called Simple Note,
Yes,
and I got to tell you, man, this program is awesome. I
it
mean,
is.
it goes from Windows, it goes to Linux, and it goes to the Android phone, and it syncs the notes with it. Um, it's just absolutely awesome. I'm so glad you made a video on it because
That is
I
so
love it.
cool. Well, I'm using it full time. The only issue I've found, and maybe you found some other way of doing it, is I've had to go in and copy and paste my notes from Keep over.
No, I've not actually had any notes in Keep, so I don't know. I
Okay.
didn't run into that.
Okay. Well, cool. I'm glad that worked out for you, man.
Yep, me too.
All right. We'll check you later.
All right, see you, Rob.
Take care.